Hey Nelson, we're sitting down here by the river, and we see you have a dock here. I was reading in your paperwork that this dock is a problem. So is this something you built, or was it already there?
Yeah, the dock I built, but it was there. Like I said, I bought it from a friend of mine.
Sure.
It was there when I bought it.
Okay.
For a while. And it's not a dock, it's actually a ramp. Mike, when we get closer, you'll see it's only, I mean, you can't pull up and dock.
Exactly.
It's just a little ramp that you use to launch kayaks, because if you walk in the river, you're gonna go down in silt up to here. So my family, you know, the little ones, it's actually a little bit dangerous to, I didn't know until I walked out there myself and sank up to here in just straight silt. So it helps to launch. It's just, you'll see it.
It's more of a deck.
It's a ramp.
You'll see.
Down there, you'll see it. It's
we'll walk over there.
It's a little ramp. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Stairs going down.
Yeah, it just sticks out of the water like this.
Your dog really likes the river.
Yeah, he's cooling down.
So let's talk a little bit about the, we know we're in a floodway down here, or floodplain. Which is it? Or both?
This is called the Special Hazard Flood Area.
Okay.
And it just means that I believe it's every year. It's called the 100-year floodplain. So that means every year, I believe there's a 1% chance that it'll come up, the water will come up to this level. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it means.
How high has the water got up since you've been here?
Well, I've seen this property for about 7 years. In 2018 was the highest by far it's ever been. Cassandra was also here that day, and it made it to the edge of that deck right there, which was, you know, very high. It came here, but you know, it would still have to go up a good 5-6 feet to even make it to the buildings. And so yeah, anyway, that's, I mean, it's unprecedented having it come up this high, I think.
Well, I know in one of the county's complaints was the buildings, and they talked about equalizing the pressure, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll take a look over there. We have a few pictures, but we'll slip over there in a minute. We'll take a look at the backside of those buildings.
Yeah.
But they're quite a ways from the edge of the river as it is, and it would take many feet.
And they're anchored in concrete.
Yeah. So typically things like this happens. These kind of issues come up when your neighbors complain. I'm sure when you cleared your lot off, you know, there's some purists that don't want to see a single tree left, but like you mentioned, these are agricultural lots, and you would think you would have agricultural lots, you would do agricultural things on them.
Pursuits, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You have to clear it in order to...
Well, I see you have a home site up there. Your well's in. You got your drain field all laid out. And
the home plans are done. The temporary power.
You got a beautiful view. I mean, it's really a nice lot.
Thank you.
And I think you have a beautiful home and really a good place to run a business. So you talked about you were going to do really turn this into a business. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first I would just like to mention one thing. When we did clear the lots, there was a neighbor, there was a neighbor that did complain. And, you know, and this was after I had told her and her husband what I was going to do. And they had issues with it. For some reason, they assumed that, you know, they like trees more than me. And they just don't want any trees cleared because they love trees, and I understand that. But I would like just for them to remember that their big house that they built in the middle of the woods with the driveway and garden and whatever else they have, some trees had to be cleared for that. So I know now. They don't want me to do the same, but I just want to remind folks that your house, before it was there, was trees also.
I can remember I did the same thing. I I had a place up on the Shenandoah Farms, Blue Mountain area, and we had a little place and built a house. Then I put my drain field in. I came up on a Friday night about 11 o'clock, and all I seen was a mountain of trees pushed down, and my heart sunk. I said, oh my goodness,
Right.
what happened to all my trees?
Right. And I do understand that it's dramatic. The irony, though, is this is in essence silviculture, which is a tree farm.
Exactly. You tore them down. Now you're gonna plant them back.
Beautiful trees, and that's what you see there in those tree tubes. And you can film more, but we've started. We're kind of in a holding pattern now for the last year. Remember, this was just cleared. Nothing was here as of a year and a half ago, so it's been quite a lot of stuff been done.
Did you have to get a permit to clear these trees?
Yes.
Disturbance permit?
Yeah, a land disturbance permit. So my contractors gave me some information, which was, I believe, erroneous in that I didn't need a land disturbance permit to clear the trees. We also, because it was in an agriculturally zoned lot, and once I found out that I needed one, then I tried to obtain my land disturbance permit several times with the county. County officials came down, said that I was good to go, just go get the land disturbance permit, and I tried to go do that, and I was denied the land disturbance permit because they told me that I needed now to go through a thorough review process, which included something called an erosion and settlement control plan.
Yeah, I read about that in your report. The justification.
The justification, yeah. So I didn't know what that was. I never heard of it before, and so I started doing the research on it. I did call one surveyor and 2 engineers, and both were dumbfounded that I would need one for just a regular owner-occupied lot. And they said they've never seen that before, but and it would cost over $6,000 and take at least 10 weeks to complete. Remember, they wanted me to get the erosion and settlement control plan, this is very important, after everything was established. The grass was here, and so when DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, came out here to assess my property, they said that I didn't have an erosion and settlement control issue at all, and to proceed with getting the land disturbance permit. And so that's important because that's the state agency coming out here and saying, no, this is fine. You cleared your trees very quickly. You established vegetation. You're good to go.
Rocks on the front.
There's definitely, this is something that I did in order to prevent further erosion, but this is not because of the trees. There were no trees right where we're standing. This is, I built this seawall here myself after I bought the property, just to prevent the river from, eroding that's how much I care anyway about the erosion issue. But anyway, and so DEQ then reported back to the county, David Beam, the building official, that they were satisfied with my property as it stood, and he did not agree, and argued with them on record about the fact that he doesn't agree, etc., etc. So he literally disagreed with the state agency that mandates the erosion and settlement control plans, and he actually went around the 2 individuals that were handling the case from the Department of Environmental Quality to their boss, and their boss then overruled David Beam, saying that we're good, the case is closed, and that's the end of that. And that's finally when David Beam backed off and said okay. And 7 months later or 6 months later is when I like to say phase 2 of the case, if you will, started, which was with a letter of violation stating that all my structures, literally all my structures, had something the matter with them. You know, the ramp was in the water or whatever, and they actually turned me into the Virginia Marine Resource Commission down in Newport News. A gentleman that I immediately called upon receiving the letter, and he was dumbfounded that, I mean, the first question was, how big is your ramp? And I said, well, it's 16 feet by 6 feet. And he could not understand that. And he was just expressed frustration and said, this is nuts. What do those county officials think, that I have time to, I meant down in Newport News, I'm going to go up there to, so he said, it's fine. You know, if they want to speak to me, just ask them to give me a call. But they, on the first letter of violation, which was back in January 16th of this year, they did alert him of the situation. That's our situation right there. That is our situation. That is the great situation. So I have some questions about how they saw my ramp without me being here at the property. It's obvious that you step back from the ramp 10 feet and you can't see it. And you certainly, there's no way you can see it from the top of the property, the right of way.
They floated down the river in a canoe.
Yeah, I know, exactly. The one thing, Mike, that, so I started asking more questions as they started taking these sort of aggressive and showing that they didn't want to work with me on this, because they never told me what exactly I needed to do. They just said, you did this wrong, and that's it. And so it turns out that the previous owner is an attorney, and so she obviously understands the law. And so she started researching their rationale behind their attempts at blocking me, and obviously they're just flat out wrong. They're wrong on the law, they're wrong on the process, and this is retaliation from the previous DEQ issue, and that's all there is to it. Nothing
caught in the crossfire.
Nothing else makes sense.
Yeah.
So we decided to research that, and we started ordering some Freedom of Information Act requests from the county. And one of the requests was, in the original letter violation, they said that they've conducted countywide floodplain observations, and your property came up as having unpermitted structures in the floodplain. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even think anything of it at all. I was like, okay. I didn't think I needed a permit for the buildings, because their website literally says no zoning permit required, and that's part of the justification. It's on there. It's a county interpretation. And so that's what I thought. And I saw nothing about an agricultural exemption application either.
No, there's nothing.
Because you read the code from literally the first word to the last word, you will not find the words agricultural exemption zoning application. It's as if it doesn't exist. So their interpretation of no zoning permit, plus not knowing about the agricultural exemption, Susan did talk to Matt Wendling, the floodplain manager, back when she was going to put the very first building, the large garage up, and nothing was needed according to, as long as it's not bigger than a certain size and etc. So nothing was pulled at that time. She went to, the building. I mean, she's an attorney, right? She's going to look at it and see that things are done right. And so by right, she was allowed one building not to exceed 600 square feet. for any use. For lots bigger than 2 and lower, I think it's bigger than 2 acres and less than 10 acres, you're allowed 1 building, I believe, of that size. And so that's what was put up right there. 500 square foot garage was put up. That was the very first thing to be put up before anything.
Well, let's walk over there and take a look at the building.